Hey guys, I am Arifa, second BSc Physics. Today, here we discuss about an autobiographical writing, excerpt from Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, written by Annie Dillard. About the author, Annie Dillard, also known as Annie Doc, is an American poet and naturalist. She was born on 13th April 1945 in Pittsburgh, US. She is famous for her narrative prose, both fiction and non-fiction. Dillard writes compressed lyric poetry and prose by getting inspired by writers like Henry David Thoreau and Walt Whitman. Dillard's essays of contemplation on the world of nature made her extremely popular in the mainstream of literature. She is also a naturalist theologian, collagist, and a singer. Her major works include Tickets for a Prayer Wheel, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, Holy Deform, Living by Fiction, and American Childhood. Dillard's essays were highly poetic and deeply philosophical. When she says, strange things become familiar and vice versa, she puts together her ideas as a theologian and naturalist. Dillard had a joyful childhood and she used to read on a wide range of subjects such as geology, natural history, entomology, poetry, and so on. Her mother influenced her a lot to shape her holistic approach to nature. This book, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, has been described as a naturalist classic. It portrays the personal experience of Dillard during a whole year in her neighborhood in Tinker Creek. Actually, the title refers to Tinker Creek in the Blue Ridge Mountain in Virginia. This book details the narrator's exploration near her home and various contemplation on the nature and life. Dillard began writing Pilgrim in the spring of 1973 using her personal journals as inspiration. In the book Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, Dillard looks at the marvels of nature and searches for God. She is undertaking a pilgrimage into nature, and she carefully crafted this by observing and researching the natural world. She was awarded the Pulitzer Prize on 1975 for her work, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek.
I myself Aisha Shireen from 2nd BSc Physics. My roll number is 11. Today I'm gonna speak about the first paragraph of the story or the narration Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, which is actually a personal narrative. But before that, let me say a little bit about Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. Actually, it's an exciting meditation on nature and its season. This is a personal narrative, as I told you before, which reveals about the writer's exploration of a whole year when she was staying in Tinker Creek in Virginia. She learns about the nature of her neighborhood, and this book speaks about all the different seasons, all the four different seasons that occur in a year, which is separated into four different sections. Actually, Dillard looks at the nature and searches for God. She observes nature with her microscopic eye. The Pilgrim at Tinker Creek is described as a naturalist classic. Now, we're entering to the first paragraph of the narration, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. The narrative or the Dillard begins this narration with a common experience regarding frogs and their invisible positions. When we look into the nature, we can see that frog hides somewhere, and sometime when it suddenly jumped on your feet, we obviously feel yak and we'll get panic too. And it emits some froggy substance called yike, and then it splash into the water. But for Dillard, it was always an amusement, and now too. She even observed the changes in texture of the light, which is reflected from the mudbank, water, grass, or frog. When she was walking to the grassy edge of the island, she could see many frogs were jumping in and out of the water in both sides. At the end of that island, she noticed a small frog which was half in and half out of the water. For Dillard, it was looking like a schematic diagram of an amphibian. This frog didn't jump into the water.
Hi, this is Ramanohar, second BSc Physics, roll number 8. In the first paragraph of Pilgrim of Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard, we saw the author walking in her neighborhood and observing her beautiful nature. While that time she saw a frog half in water. She was a great observer, so she goes closer to it for a better look. She was now just 4 feet away from it, and she saw a very small frog with dull eyes. It slowly began to sink. She saw spiritless eyes in the frog. The skull of the frog started collapsing. It shrinked before her eyes like a deflating football. She found out that the frog was shedding layers of skin on top of the water. Dillard then saw a shadow under the frog and it glided away. At last, she could only see some leftover skin of the poor frog. Dillard understood that the frog was being killed by a giant water bug. She was really terrified by this sight.
Abhiramiti from BSc Physics and my roll number 9. The chapter Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, an extract from the book of same name written by Annie Dillard. The book is a personal narrative, if revealing the writer's explorations of Tinker Creek in Virginia. In the chapter, she narrates one incident in the Tinker Creek in order to make the philosophical observations about the creative of the universe. Today, I am going to speak the third paragraph of the Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. In the third paragraph, narrator explains the frog was bitten and sucked by a water bug. Then she describes how does the water bugs eat their prey. The water bug injected enzyme into the body of the frog. The enzyme injected by the bug solved the hole in the content of the frog, even its bones except the skin, and the juice was consumed by the bug. These descriptions make us think about how the biological cycle of this organic world has created in such a manner.
My name is Fasila V from 2nd BSc Physics and my roll number is 12. Pilgrim at Tinker Creek is a personal narrative and is exciting meditation on nature and its season. Here I am going to tell about the fourth paragraph of Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. The Lord talks about a monstrous and terrifying sight that she witnessed during a walk along the edge of an island in Tinker Creek. A live frog gets reduced to a mere skill like a deflated football. She goes on to tell about the giant water bat which eats its prey by holding it tight and injecting a poisonous enzyme that the muscles, bones, and internal organs into a juice. And then Annie Dillard gives the minute details of the eating style of animals. There are different methods of eating by animals. The frog that she saw had been sucked out by the water bug. She talks about the common ways in which carnivorous animals like frogs and ants eat its prey. Some carnivorous animals eat their prey alive. The common way of defeat the prey is to down or grasp and then eating at the whole or biting frogs stuff their prey on the tongue which is sticky. The terrifying sight of the water bug sucking life out of the frog makes her think why God, who created the universe, created something as evil as a water bug.
Myself Ladita CM from BSc Physics Department. Roll number 14. In the last paragraph, there is a shift from the discussion about the animal kingdom to good and creation. That is, she invites our attention to the very act of creation and existence of God. She is curious to know about the coexistence of life and death. She quotes Blaise Pascal, one of the greatest Christian apologists, physicist, and writer, who talks about Deus absconditus, that is, the idea of a God who created the universe and left it, or the notion of the creator. Then she quotes Einstein, who observes that God is subtle but not malicious. He says that nature conceals her mystery by means of her essential grandeur, not by her cunning. She decided to go with Einstein, for whom God is a metaphor for nature and natural order. So there is a justification for all the creation, like the water bug, which is there to maintain order. Annie Dillard believes God has not absconded, but spread as a fabric of spirit very subtly, and we can only feel blindly of its hem. She wonders if our consciousness has evolved to that point.
Hi, I'm Fatima Liana TV from 2nd BSc Physics. Yes, we already completed our chapter. Now let us simply summarize once again. Our chapter Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, which is an autobiographical writing by Annie Dillard, who is an American poet and naturalist. While we discussed about the book, we can understand that this book details the narrator's explorations near her home. And in the opening paragraph, she begins with the common experience regarding the frogs and their invisible possessions. Normally, when a frog hides somewhere and jumped over our feet and splashed into the water, we would yell panic. But for the narrator, it is always an amusement. From this paragraph, we can understand that Dillard is a keen observer of her surroundings. Here she also discussed about the water bugs. She clearly describes how does water bugs eat their prey. These descriptions make us think about how does the biological cycle of this organic world has created in such a manner. Then she gives the minute details of the eating style of animals. There are different methods of eating by animals. Some carnivorous animals eat their prey alive. She also described the common way for defeat the prey. These small wonders in nature drive her thought to God and the creation. We can see this in the following paragraphs. She quotes from the Quran to talk about the creation. Through this, she invites our attention to the very act of creation and the existence of God. She also mentioned how Einstein describes God. For Einstein, God was a metaphor for nature and natural order. After completing the writing, we can conclude by saying, Dillard believes that God has not absconded but spread as a fabric of spirit very subtly, and we can only feel blindly of its hem. She wonders, however, if our consciousness has evolved to that point. That's it. Hope you guys understand. Thank you.